slapped me across the face. And he slapped me again.
And hours of testimony.
He just kicked me in the back. I thought he was the love of my life. He was, but he was also this other thing.
For 6 weeks, Johnny Depp has arrived at court each day to cheers, Amber Heard, silence, and sometimes worse.
The case of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard was never just a lawsuit. It was a collision between celebrity, power, trauma, media, and public judgment, played out not behind closed doors, but in front of the entire world. What began as a deeply personal relationship between two Hollywood actors ultimately transformed into one of the most watched courtroom events in modern history. A trial that blurred the lines between justice and entertainment, belief and evidence, truth and perception. Unlike most legal battles, this one unfolded live, dissected in real time by millions, turning court testimony into viral clips and witnesses into global talking points. And at the heart of it all was one fundamental question that no verdict could fully resolve. When two people accuse each other of abuse, how does the truth survive fame, bias, and spectacle? Johnny Depp entered the public consciousness not merely as an actor, but as a symbol of artistic rebellion and emotional depth. Over decades, he cultivated a career defined by unconventional roles, loyalty to collaborators, and an image of creative integrity that set him apart from Hollywood's polished elite. Films like Edward Scissorhands, Finding Neverland, and Pirates of the Caribbean transformed Depp into a global icon, someone audiences trusted, admired, and felt they understood. But beneath that success lay a deeply troubled personal history. Depp would later speak openly about a childhood marked by instability and abuse, struggles with addiction, and emotional volatility. Vulnerabilities that made him both deeply empathetic and dangerously fragile. These unresolved wounds, the defense argued, were weaponized against him. The prosecution framed them as evidence of instability and violence.
Mr. Depp, the jury's heard quite a bit from Ms. Heard's side about your drug and alcohol use, but I'm sure they'd like to hear from you. So could you please just tell them about your history of substance use?
Certainly. Again, this goes back to when I was a young boy. My mom telling me to go get her nerve pills, out of her purse that was hanging on the back of the door. So I'd go get the nerve pills and I'd bring her the nerve pill. I'd bring my mom her nerve pill. I would walk away and I would take one myself.
Amber Heard's rise in Hollywood followed a different path. She was not yet an A-list star when she met Depp, but she was ambitious, outspoken, and deeply aware of the power dynamics surrounding her. Heard built a public identity rooted in independence and social awareness, eventually aligning herself with advocacy for domestic violence survivors. To supporters, she represented a woman standing up against an enormously powerful man. To critics, she would later be portrayed as manipulative, strategic, and inconsistent. Throughout the trial, Heard's credibility became the central battleground. Not just her words, but her demeanor, emotional expressions, and even her pauses were scrutinized relentlessly. The trial did not simply evaluate evidence. It judged her character in front of the world. From the beginning, Depp and Heard's relationship was described as intense, passionate, and emotionally consuming. Friends and witnesses testified that they were deeply in love, but that love was volatile. Arguments escalated quickly, often fueled by alcohol, drugs, jealousy, and insecurity. What the court ultimately revealed was not a clean narrative of aggressor and victim, but a portrait of a relationship spiraling out of control. Audio recordings captured screaming matches, insults, admissions of physical altercations, and moments of regret from both sides. The defense framed this as mutual abuse and toxicity, while Heard maintained that power, imbalance, and fear defined the dynamic. These recordings would become some of the most powerful and polarizing evidence presented.
We gotta change how we do things, and I want to trust you, and I feel like all the trust is gone. All the fucking trust is gone in the relationship because you keep splitting.
I'm not gonna be in a physical fucking altercation
Don't.
with you.
Then don't.
You fucking hit me last night. You fucking...
What about all the other times you split? Come on, you cannot act like that's about that. It's
Well,
not.
on a plane, I can't split.
No, and you hit back, so don't act like you don't fucking
I
participate.
pushed you.
I'm not gonna get into the details of that fight. You and I both know that you split when there is no physical violence involved. And that you do it like at the very beginning of fights these days. And if you split and you go into a different room and you don't actually leave that house, it does nothing but perpetuate the fight. Really, when you split on me, how do you feel when I leave you?
When I split, when I go into the other room, you said.
And
went to
getting
other
me a
rooms.
room, getting another room at a hotel is just the same thing.
When did I get another room at a hotel?
You text Steven or Nathan in Toronto to get you another room.
When Amber Heard filed for divorce in 2016 and sought a temporary restraining order, the public response was immediate and explosive. Images of Heard appearing in court with visible marks on her face became global headlines overnight.
What happened? What happened? Nothing happened this morning, you know that?
Were you in here?
No.
So then nothing happened to you this morning?
Yeah, you're right. I just woke up and you were so sweet and nice. We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you this morning? I don't think so.
No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you fucking crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going? You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really? Really? Sneak that shit on me, motherfucker.
I didn't. You were smashing shit.
Oh, bye. Ass.
It just made Johnny madder. He got more upset, grabbed the phone, and started screaming at Io. He just started screaming at the top of his lungs, said, "You dyke bitch, you don't know what you're talking," just screaming expletives, insulting names, and telling Io that he can have me and, fuck off, and just screaming at him. That's best I can describe it without getting into the details. He tosses the phone, down on the couch and heads upstairs. I pick up the phone and try to, apologize for the fact that my husband at the time just screamed at my friend on a cold call.
Depp's denial was swift, but largely ignored, as the cultural climate was shifting toward believing accusers, especially women accusing powerful men. Studios distanced themselves. Projects disappeared. Depp would later testify that this period marked the beginning of his professional exile. Meanwhile, the divorce settlement included a $7 million payment, which Heard publicly pledged to donate to charity. A promise that would later unravel under cross-examination, raising serious questions about credibility and intent. In 2018, Amber Heard published an op-ed in the Washington Post describing herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Though Johnny Depp's name was never mentioned, the implication was clear and devastating. Depp argued that this single article permanently labeled him an abuser in the public eye, costing him his career, reputation, and identity. This was not a case about physical injuries alone. It was about words and the power they hold when amplified by fame. Under U.S. defamation law, Depp faced an uphill battle. He had to prove not only that the statements were false, but that they were made with actual malice. Before the American case, Depp sued a British tabloid for calling him a wife-beater. The UK court ruled against him, concluding that the allegations were substantially true. This loss devastated Depp's public standing and was widely seen as the final nail in his career, but the legal standards differed. And Depp believed the U.S. system would finally allow him to tell his story fully. The Virginia trial was not about relitigating abuse claims alone. It was about whether Heard knowingly destroyed him with false allegations. When the Virginia trial began in 2022, it quickly became clear that this was unlike any courtroom proceeding before it. Live-stream testimony turned jurors into spectators, and spectators into commentators. TikTok clips racked up billions of views. Body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions became evidence in the court of public opinion. Expert witnesses, former friends, medical professionals, and industry insiders testified, often contradicting each other. The trial wasn't just about facts. It was about believability and who the jury and the world trusted more. On June 1, 2022, the jury ruled largely in Johnny Depp's favor, awarding him over $10 million in damages and concluding that Amber Heard had defamed him. While Heard won one counterclaim, the outcome was widely interpreted as a public vindication of Depp. Cheers erupted outside the courthouse. Careers shifted overnight. But the verdict did not end the debate. It intensified it. Supporters celebrated accountability. Critics warned that survivors would be discouraged from speaking out. The courtroom had delivered a judgment, but society was still arguing. The Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial was not a simple story of innocence or guilt. It was a mirror reflecting society's discomfort with complexity, with the idea that truth can be fractured, painful, and incomplete. It forced audiences to confront how quickly narratives form, how easily perception overtakes evidence, and how devastating public judgment can be, regardless of the verdict. This case will not be remembered solely for who won or lost, but for how it changed the conversation around abuse, fame, and justice in the digital age. If you value deep, unbiased, true crime storytelling, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications.